All right, welcome in. This is episode number 2, the Andrew McInnis Daily Podcast. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on YouTube, Mayflower Sports. I am Andrew McInnis. I am the host here every single day, every single weekday, Monday through Friday. We are breaking things down. We're recapping, we're ranting, and everything else in between all of that stuff. We're discussing because we're going to react, we're going to discuss, and a few topics today to discuss. Number one, Monday night, there was just one NHL game. The Edmonton Oilers, New York Rangers. The Rangers handed to the Oilers. Lots of problems there in oil country. In the NFL, Big Ben played his last game as a Steeler at home, especially actually. 26-14 score for the Steelers over the Browns. Baker Mayfield, he passed 16 completed 16 of 38 passes, 185 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 2 interceptions. Big Ben, 123 yards for him, 24 of 46 passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Steelers get the job done. Baker Mayfield looked absolutely horrible. The team continued to look way better when they ran the ball. But that's to the surprise of nobody. We'll start with that, guys. We'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers game. Look, you got to just think about Big Ben, what he's meant to that franchise, what he's done for them, the big games he's won for them, Super Bowls he's won, and just kind of fighting through with the different talent that he's had, some up years, some down years. The great relationship he developed with Coach Tomlin, every player, all the tweets that I saw yesterday, you have to love the respect that it seemed like every single person in football had for Big Ben Roethlisberger, QB for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Seemed like there was lots of respect being handed out all over social media, all over the field. Everybody was kind of giving their respects to Big Ben Roethlisberger. And they get it done against the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football in what was a pretty uneventful game, to be honest with you. A very weird game, lots of turnovers, like I said, 3 interceptions between the two quarterbacks, lots of weird plays, including a Najee Harris touchdown near the end of the game. The Browns get the ball, and somehow Baker gets another interception. So another curtain call for Big Ben. He gets to get that great round of applause from all his teammates, the fans in the stands, and everybody around him. So it was just a really great moment. It was one of those games where I did have a bet on the game, and of course, I'm watching those games, but it was one of those ones that you just really, really wanted to, to watch, and you kind of want to see what's going to happen, and you kind of want to see the ovation they're going to get. I'll be honest, it made me a little more happy that the fact that I had a winning bet on the Steelers +3, getting that in Sunday night, but growing up, watching Big Ben, watching him lead the Steelers. And to be honest with you, he gets that nickname for a reason, Big Ben. Right now in the NFL, it's very abnormal if you are not a mobile quarterback, if you're not a quarterback that can at least run a little bit. Big Ben, obviously a larger dude. He gets his nickname for a reason. He's someone that has made a living in the pocket, or when he escapes the pocket, he throws it pretty much immediately. I think that Big Ben, he's done well, and he's battled adversity. And I think that just when people started to kind of doubt the Steelers, sometimes he would come up with a big game, big performance. And you think back to last year in the playoffs when they lost. You just think to when that moment on the bench with some of his teammates, and he was almost apologetic for not getting them farther. It's just, you can see how much it really means to him. He was talking about how he's been doing this for almost half his life now. You can really tell really how much it means to him, and kind of what this entire organization has done for him, and how much he loves Heinz Field, how much he loves being a Pittsburgh Steeler. So I really enjoyed watching that game. I really enjoyed watching kind of the ovation for Big Ben, watching the team rally around him, and watch the Steelers get that victory for him. And not only just the offense play well, but the defense playing well too. So That was great to see, and that was definitely something worth discussing here on the daily podcast. But something else we wanted to discuss before I get to the main topic, guys, NBA upset alert. We had some upsets in the NBA last night. One of them we have to discuss, of course, the Pistons defeating the Milwaukee Bucks 115 to 106. I believe the point spread on that one was 12 or 13 points in favor of the Bucks. The Detroit Pistons pull off the upset there and get the job done. So that was a big one there. Across the NBA right now, we're starting to see several upsets. The Timberwolves defeat the Clippers 122-104 in that one. We're starting to see so many different games kind of catch people off guard. The Grizzlies defeat the Nets 118-104. It's just great to see in the NBA when these upsets do happen. I love seeing it anyway. I love seeing the league have that now a lot more than we used to really see it. So that's great to see. Obviously, looking at a Milwaukee Bucks team getting upset like that, I don't care who's in the lineup for them. I don't care who's in the lineup for Detroit. If that's happening, you can definitely tell they had a good game. And you take a look at the field goal percentage for the Detroit Pistons, 48.4% from the field, 42% three-pointers. Everything but their free throw percentage was just dynamite, rock solid. Rebounding, assists, it was great. And they took care of the ball as well. Not too many turnovers. Points in the paint, they actually lost, but they were just shooting the lights out. It did not matter. So hats off there to the Detroit Pistons for upsetting the Milwaukee Bucks 115-106. But the conversation that I wanted to get into, the conversation that I wanted to jump into was, of course, the Edmonton Oilers. What is wrong with this team? What is the deal right now with the Edmonton Oilers? And I'll tell you guys, it is the exact same problem as it's been for as long as I can remember. As long as even before McDavid was on that team, it's the exact same problem we have been seeing. And the simple solution, or simple problem, I should say, is that there aren't enough options on that team. And when you look at it, a lot of these teams that have won the Stanley Cup in recent years, a lot of teams that are doing really well, they have depth. They have several options. Everybody wants to point at guys like Kucherov or Stamkos on the Tampa Bay Lightning. But let's not forget, that third line for them was outstanding. Their fourth line did their job. They had several great defensive pairings that were great stay-at-home and also offensive defensemen, and that makes a difference. Right now for the Edmonton Oilers, if McDavid's not scoring, if Draisaitl is not scoring, if Hyman isn't pulling his weight, Puljujarvi is barely doing much. Yamamoto, we can't find him on the ice. This team does not know where to turn and who to turn to for scoring. And then you look at their goaltending problem, and that's a whole other problem in its own. Mikko Koskinen turns the puck over, pretty much gives a late Christmas gift to Alexis Lafreniere, and that starts things out last night. The New York Rangers puts them up 1-0. I could not believe that. I take a look at kind of what I'm seeing from this team right now. It is not good. It's not good goaltending-wise. It's not good depth scoring-wise, and they are not taking care of the puck. And it's what happens when you put too much pressure on a few players to do the bulk of the scoring. There were some stats that I found several weeks back I couldn't find for today, but they were pretty much illustrating the fact that if you look at the bottom six versus the top six for the Edmonton Oilers, the amount of production, shots on goal, expected goals, goals in general, offensive zone time, all of these key stats just aren't there for the Edmonton Oilers in their bottom six. It's just so true. They can't get any depth. And when their top players don't produce, they're screwed. They are absolutely screwed. And let's talk about giving up the first goal. This Edmonton Oilers team has made a habit of giving up the first goal on a consistent basis. It's hurting them big time. It is not working out for them trying to come back in countless games, whether they're playing the New Jersey Devils, whether they're playing the New York Rangers, whether they're playing the St. Louis Blues. It does not matter who they're playing. You cannot give your opposition a consistent 1-goal spot to start off every single game. You take a look at this team, you kind of think about teams like the Toronto Maple Leafs, who have struggled in the playoffs, who have had so many disappointing first round exits. I've been known to make fun of the Maple Leafs, but I'll tell you one thing. This Maple Leafs team this year has more depth than they did last year. And one of the main reasons why they have that depth is getting rid of a guy like Zach Hyman. At first, everybody was saying it was a bad move that they couldn't hold on to him. And I think it would be great if they could hold on to him. The fact of the matter is, they paid 4 players half their salary, so they had to get rid of him to clear up some of that cap space. The good news is the Maple Leafs now have 3 or 4 players combined that are contributing to the offense that are making the exact same amount that Zach Hyman makes all together. That is how you build depth on a team. You find some key pieces that don't require a huge amount of money and see if those guys can contribute offensively to a winning team. Unfortunately, when you look at the breakdown right now for the Edmonton Oilers, that's not exactly what you have looking at their, at their lines. Tyler Benson, Ryan McLeod, Kyle Turris, where's he been? Warren Fogle, Yamamoto, what is he doing on a consistent basis? There's too much pressure on the highlight reel machine, Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl to get it done and to contribute for them. And if you look any given night, this team is struggling to do much if those two guys are not putting the biscuit in the basket. And that's just not something that can happen. You need to be able to put the puck in the net without it just being your top goal scorers. It's just a fact. Looking at some of these teams that they've played, in their past several games here, they have not needed to light the lamp from all their goal scorers because it's just, you don't need to do it. You just get a lead on this Oilers team and protect it. I mean, if you're a good defensive team against the Oilers and you can find a lead, they're going to protect it. And the second the Oilers start playing catch up and play comeback, they can't do it. And also, let's look at the power play percentage for this Oilers team. One of the best power plays in the entire league, a team that will make you pay. They are the best at executing the power play in the league. So many snipers, so many shooters. Darnell Nurse running the point for them on the power play. We've got McDavid. We've got Draisaitl. We've got Hyman in front of the net. So many options for them. But you take a look at some of these games they're dropping, such as to the Islanders, such as to the Rangers, such as to the Devils. Looking at some of these games they've dropped recently, losing to the Wild, losing to the Kings, losing to the Bruins, losing to the Hurricanes. And it just doesn't get any better for them. And back on December 14th, that loss against the Maple Leafs where they lost 5-1, that was kind of the wake-up call for them that they are not in the tier the Maple Leafs and some of these other key teams are. For right now, for this Oilers team, I'll tell you guys one thing and one thing only. I can only count on them to beat the weak teams. I would not want to take them head to head against the top team in the league right now. I do not believe they can make a run in the playoffs if they cannot get a goaltender. Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen are not the answer. Finding some key depth pieces at the trade deadline will help them. Their defense isn't even too bad. I just feel like right now their forwards aren't contributing. When their top 6 aren't on the ice, it's hard for them to develop any offense, and it hurts them in a big, big, big way. As far as the New York Rangers, guys, I got to discuss that if I'm going to sit here and rip on the Edmonton Oilers here. The Rangers were good. They scored goals. They found a way to get it done. They got several shots. I believe Chris Kreider ended the game with like 7 or 8 shots. They were pesky. They made life miserable for the Edmonton Oilers. And you see that the head coach of the Oilers, Dave Tippett, he had a post game interview and he was talking about how Mikko Koskinen's mistake was just brutal, inexcusable. These words he was using, it's like, man, you cannot blame this guy for the loss. Okay, he said we played good hockey. You played good hockey. You scored 1 goal as a team. Okay. I don't think he's the reason. I also don't think your other goalie and Mike Smith, you favor a lot more, is any better either. Okay. So this Rangers team that has now not just one, but two good goaltenders, it seems like, with Alexander Georgiev and Igor Shesterkin, two goaltenders that are absolutely holding it down. Look at a guy like Mika Zibanejad, Alexis Lafreniere, Barclay Goodrow, Ryan Strome, Chris Kreider. These guys are carrying the load for that team in the Rangers. And you look at some guys like Capo Caco, Keandre Miller, Ryan Reeves. All of those guys are doing a job that you just can't replicate. They're all doing something that's contributing to the offense, contributing to the forecheck. And they're making this Rangers team look really, really strong. Goaltending's been strong. If their defense can hold up, I think this Rangers team is a really, really good team. But I'll tell you what, guys, if there's ever a time to hit the panic button on the Edmonton Oilers, I believe it is right now. This is, to me, a headline in the NHL. What is going on with the Edmonton Oilers? Not just a few losses, not just a few tight losses. This team has to figure it out. And now Connor McDavid, as of Tuesday evening, it is officially announced he has COVID now. So they'll be without Connor McDavid. And that takes away, like I said, a huge piece of the team. One of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, best goal scorer in the world. And they have to play none other than the other Canadian team lighting it up, the Toronto Maple Leafs, in their next game. We'll discuss that. We'll react to that. And get into that much, much more. But guys, the goaltending I worry about, the offensive depth I worry about, the coaching I even worry about with Dave Tippett. He seems frustrated. He seems a little bit confused on what to do with his next move. And I don't think anybody really knows what to do with the Edmonton Oilers right now, guys. But last night was a pretty good night in the world of sports. I love seeing some upsets there in the NBA. It was great watching Big Ben play his last game at home as a Pittsburgh Steeler that came out with that win. And the New York Rangers dominate the Edmonton Oilers 4-1. They got some goals from Ryan Strome, Barclay Goodrow, Lafreniere, Chris Kreider. It was a big game for the New York Rangers. This has been the Andrew McInnis Daily Podcast. You can find me on YouTube, find me on Twitter as well. Check me out on Twitter at McGinnis Picks. Make sure you are following Mayflower Sports on Twitter as well. If you're checking me out on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're reacting to all the biggest headlines Monday through Friday. And if you want me to discuss anything, react to anything, talk about anything in the NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, make sure you guys tweet at me at McGinnis Picks and we'll try and discuss it. But that's it for now, guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Wednesday, the Andrew McInnis Daily Podcast right here on YouTube.